People have this idea that we've outgrown masculinity, like it's this primitive thing we have no need for anymore, as if the whole nature of being a man is to go out specifically clubbing animals to death and roasting them over an open fire like a caveman, and that's it. In a lot of my previous videos where I talk about masculinity, there are a lot of comments that, in essence, put this idea forward, that masculinity is this primitive thing that we have no need for in our civilized, technologically advanced civilization. But this comes from a complete misunderstanding of what masculinity is. Well, if you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe if you want to hear more content like this. Now, when it comes to masculinity, there are a lot of set actions and behaviors that people have in mind. They have this idea of a brutal, crass, and repressed caveman, whose only purpose is to provide physical necessities like clubbing animals to death, brutally subjugating his mate so he can procreate, and of course, repressing all of his emotions so he can efficiently club all those animals to death. People think of it as purely physical, like you're doing a job in a sense. And in fact, we have the concept of gender roles to thank for that. The concept of gender roles is very much an accepted concept today. That when a man or a woman behaves in a certain way, they think of it as almost like an act, like you're putting on a mask and playing a part. You're fulfilling some sort of role that's outside of your identity. It's apart from who you are. We're taught to think of it as a socially contrived function. It has no real connection to anything real. There's no reason why a man should go out and do anything in particular, or why he should be a leader or not a leader. It's all just made up nonsense. That's not really who he is. It has nothing to do with his identity as a man. He's just filling a role. But this couldn't be further from the truth. You see, ask yourself, if I'm putting on a mask when I'm being a man, what is it that I am before I put that mask on? Surely I have an identity. I mean, I exist. A rock and a tree and a bird all have identities on their own. They don't need to pretend to be anything. I have an identity just as much as anything else exists. The fact that you are a man isn't made up. That's real. That's true. Your body as a man has a distinct identity. And being a man simply means being in harmony with that identity. It's not a role, it's not a mask, it's simply being in tune with your nature. In the same way, a cat enjoys the hunt and enjoys clawing at things, and a bird sings and flies. You being a man is simply being in tune with your nature. It couldn't be further from the idea of wearing a mask. One of the reasons why people think of masculinity as socially contrived is, well, one is they're taught to think that, but two, when we look at all the other men in our society who are, driving massive trucks and getting ripped and sleeping around and being generally what people consider to be, a fake man. They're being that way because they're insecure about their masculinity. And they're insecure about it because no one teaches them how to be a man, how to be secure in their own masculinity. So they're trying their hardest to be in harmony with themselves, to understand their own nature, but they don't. And because of it, they're insecure. And all their behaviors, the whole alpha bullshit, all of that, it's all because of insecurity. So really, all those who claim that masculinity is just made up, all they're doing is looking at the product of a society that raises men to think that it's all made up. And this is one of the main reasons why we think masculinity is made up, is because we just see all these guys running around doing very surface level things, claiming that that's what it means to be a man. Hey, I lift, I drive a big truck. So what? We're just left thinking, well, couldn't anybody do that? Couldn't a woman lift? Couldn't a woman drive a truck around? And the answer is, well, sure. But the thing is, that's not what masculinity is. And that doesn't automatically mean that masculinity doesn't exist as a concept. It's ridiculous. No, what masculinity looks like, properly defined, is basically a man who accepts his nature as a man. You see, our psychology as a human is deeply rooted in our nature, our physical natures, as well as the environments we grow up in. And the fact that we are a man plays a big part in that. It's not like hair color or something. It's an important quality that we have. It plays a big part in how we navigate the world, how we view ourselves. The fact that there is an opposite sex plays a huge part in how we deal with those who are our own sex and the opposite sex as well. I'm not going to go too much into this idea. There was another video that we did on masculinity, which I'll link up at the top somewhere. But in essence, the facts of being a man physically are heavily impactful on your psychology. We can see this in the psychologies of both men and women. And that is what it means to be masculine, is it's just accepting those facts and living harmoniously with them. As opposed to what most people do today, which is try to minimize those facts. You see men who hunch over to try and minimize their space. They try to speak softly or be very timid and not assertive. They try to downplay every element of their masculinity that they can, even down to the way that they dress. And of course they do this because the culture demonizes masculinity. So I'm, in a way, not blaming them, but I don't think that's psychologically healthy. I think it's healthy to accept and enjoy the nature of your body. And why this is timeless is because your nature hasn't changed. Like, sure, you might not be out, running around clubbing animals to death, but your body is still the same. The relationship between men and women still hasn't changed. Our natures physically, as men and women and as humans, has not changed. It doesn't matter if we're living in air-conditioned homes or flying around in spaceships. It doesn't matter. Being a man is not summed up by being a caveman. It's not confined to a particular time, and it's not just only useful in a certain circumstance. And the reason for this is your nature as a man hasn't changed. The facts of your physical makeup, of what it means to be a man physically, have resulting consequences on your psychology in the same way that they did 10,000 years ago, in the same way they will 10,000 years from now. So why masculinity is timeless is, in essence, your psychological health is timeless. Being comfortable in your own skin is timeless. And I think if anything proves that masculinity is timeless, it's today. Everybody hates their body, and the resulting consequences are being totally uncomfortable with themselves, being constantly anxious, being unable to know whether it's right or wrong to go speak to a woman, to walk down the side of the street if there's another woman on the side of the street. They're unsure of how to conduct themselves on a day-to-day level because they don't know what it means to be a man anymore. That is the real value of masculinity, is having the security, the confidence to exist as who you are, which is a man. That is a timeless fact. So don't listen to those fools who try to tell you that masculinity is this relic, or that in our civilized society, you as a man are worthless. Well, this video has been a little bit ranty, but I hope you got something out of it. Let me know in the comments below if you liked it or if you thought I was an idiot. Either way, if you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more content like this, and like the video if you liked it. I'll see you next time.